On my 28th birthday, my sister posted a group photo at a private dinner, my whole family smiling. The cake read, "To the one who'll actually succeed." It was for my sister. She paid the mortgage, but I covered 50%. I didn't make a scene. I just canceled the final payment and waited. When my sister found out, then... On the night of my 28th birthday, I sat alone in my apartment with a microwaved burrito and a can of beer. I didn't even finish. I wasn't in the mood to celebrate. I called my parents that morning to ask if we were still doing something, dinner, drinks, even coffee. But my mom sounded like I just reminded her she had a dentist appointment. She said she'd check with Amanda and get back to me. She never did. By evening, I stopped checking my phone. I told myself I was too old to care, but a part of me kept waiting for a call, a text, anything. Instead, at 9:47 p.m., I got a photo from Sarah, a coworker who'd always had a weird talent for being in the right place at the wrong time. It was a picture of my entire family, my parents, Amanda, and my younger brother Eric, sitting in a velvet booth at some upscale restaurant. Judging by the candles and the over-decorated cake, it was a party. My party, only it wasn't. I had to zoom in on the cake to believe what I was seeing. Written in perfect smug cursive, the icing read, "To the one who will actually succeed." Amanda sat dead center in some designer dress, smiling like she just solved world hunger. My mom was beside her, holding a wine glass up like it was her daughter's wedding. My dad, who always made a big show of hating fancy crap, wore a sport coat I'd never seen before. Even Eric looked cleaned up. They were all smiling. For Amanda on my birthday, no one had told me. No one had even bothered to lie about it. They didn't forget my birthday. They actively chose to spend it celebrating her instead. I sat there staring at that photo, feeling something hard snap in me. Here's the part that'll really fry your circuits. 3 months ago, Amanda made this grand gesture. She told everyone she was saving the family by paying off our parents' mortgage. Big speech. Toasts. Our parents cried. But what wasn't mentioned was that I paid the other half. $125,000 split down the middle. I drained my bonus and dipped into my savings. I even sold off some stock I'd been holding on to for years. No speech, no toast, no thank you. I was just the quiet cosigner. And they gave her the spotlight. The cake, the restaurant, the phrase, "the one who will actually succeed." Hit different when you're the one who picked up half the tabs so your retired parents wouldn't lose their house. I didn't call them. I didn't rage or scream. I logged into the mortgage account, the one Amanda never touched after her lump sum transfer, and canceled the auto payment for the final installment, $12,500. That payment was due Monday. I let it sit. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted a sliver of reality to hit Amanda and the rest of them in the face. That week, I lived in total silence from my family. No calls, no texts, not even a leftover cupcake. It didn't even feel personal, just casual indifference. Like I was some distant cousin no one liked. The kind of absence you don't explain because it's expected. Then Friday morning hit. My phone lit up at 6:52 a.m. with a missed call from Amanda. Then another. Then a text that just said, "Call me now." I let it sit. By 7:14 a.m., she was calling me nonstop. And by 7:15, I knew it had finally clicked. By 7:15 a.m., Amanda had called me 4 times. I let each one ring out, then watched my screen light up with a text that said exactly what I was waiting for. "Did you mess with the mortgage account?" That was it. No greeting, no build-up, straight to the point. I didn't answer. A minute later, another one. "The payment didn't go through. You said you'd handle this. What are you doing?" I turned off notifications and put the phone face down on the kitchen table. I made eggs slowly, took a shower, opened the window, and let the July air in. I felt like I had unclipped something inside me, and now I could finally breathe. By the time I checked my phone again, I had 7 missed calls. 3 from Amanda, 2 from my mom, 1 from my dad, and 1 from an unknown number that was probably Amanda using someone else's phone. Then came the wall of texts. My favorite was this one. "You're being dramatic over a joke cake. Get over yourself." That line stuck with me all day. Not because it hurt, but because it confirmed everything. That cake wasn't a mistake. It wasn't just poorly worded. It was intentional. It was planned. And to her, I was the one with the problem for noticing. At 8:11, she called again. I picked up this time just to see what kind of storm was coming. She didn't start with a question. She just started talking loud, fast, and panicked. She said she'd already promised our parents everything was handled, that she told them I was taking care of the last part because she was maxed out from the down payment and already did the heavy lifting. She said they were now getting emails about an incomplete mortgage payoff. She said it was going to mess with their credit. She said they panic. And then she said something that made me go quiet. You owe them this. I actually had to sit down. I owed them. I told her I didn't owe anyone anything. I reminded her I'd covered half, not some token amount, not just a small assist, half of the house. And nobody had ever said thank you. Nobody even acknowledged it. All I got was a front row seat to a cake that crowned her as the family's one true success story. She tried to spin it, said it wasn't about the money. It was about not making the family look bad. Said I was acting out like a child, humiliating her after she went above and beyond. Then she asked if this was about me being jealous. I said maybe it was about finally being done. Then I hung up. Around noon, my mom called. I didn't pick up. Then my dad. I let that ring too. Then came the voicemail from my mom, soft and rehearsed. She said this wasn't the way to handle things, that it was family, and family doesn't let petty things destroy trust. Then she said Amanda had already done so much and maybe I was struggling to find my way in life. But that didn't mean I had to take it out on her. That one actually made me laugh. Then came my dad's text. Not a call, just a cold, simple line. This isn't how we raised you. That was the first time I felt anger all day. Because yes, it was. This is exactly how they raised me. To be useful, to be quiet, to hold the camera while Amanda took the bow. To be their backup plan, their second wallet. By evening, Amanda was in meltdown mode. She sent a photo of the overdue notice. Said she had to explain to our parents that the account had glitched and the money didn't go through. She was trying to fix it, but now they were asking questions. Then she sent a 5-paragraph essay about how I made her look like a fraud and that I betrayed her. I didn't respond. I went out, bought myself a decent dinner, and watched a movie alone in my apartment. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the disappointment in the family. I felt like the only one with a clear head. But deep down, I knew Amanda wasn't going to let this end with silence. Amanda was used to getting her way, and when she didn't, she made it everyone's problem. The next morning, just before 9 o'clock, someone knocked on my door. Not a call, not a warning text, just a solid knock that didn't go away. I looked through the peephole and there was Eric holding 2 coffees like he thought this was going to be a friendly catch-up. I opened the door but didn't say anything. He handed me one of the coffees anyway and stepped inside like I'd invited him. He got right to it. Said Amanda was spiraling, that she'd been up half the night pacing in their parents' living room, saying she couldn't believe I'd pulled something like this, that she was humiliated. Eric didn't seem particularly emotional about it, just uncomfortable, like he'd been dragged into someone else's mess and wanted out. He tried to soften it, said maybe Amanda didn't mean to exclude me, said maybe the cake was just a joke that came out wrong, that I'd made my point and maybe now I could just send the payment and everyone could move on. I asked him one question. When you saw that cake, did you think about me at all? He didn't answer. He said he didn't want to be in the middle, that he'd just come to see if we could smooth it over before Mom and Dad got more involved. That Amanda was already saying she'd have to pay the full thing now. And our parents were talking about dipping into their emergency fund because they thought I was having some kind of breakdown. I told him I wasn't having a breakdown. I was just done being the safety net nobody ever thanked, that I'd done my part and Amanda could do hers. He nodded slowly like he wanted to argue but knew he didn't have anything to stand on. He left without finishing his coffee. By mid-afternoon, I got the family group text. It was rare. Usually my parents preferred to keep things private, by which they meant silent when it came to me. The message started off with, "We need to have a serious conversation." Then they launched into a revisionist version of everything that had happened. According to them, Amanda had paid the majority of the mortgage and I had simply helped. They said they appreciated my contribution but felt disappointed I was now using it as leverage. They said Amanda had carried the weight for the family and that I needed to stop disrupting everything over a personal issue. I didn't reply with words. I sent a screenshot of the exact $125,000 I'd wired to the mortgage company, dated, timestamped. Then another screenshot of the canceled auto payment for the last $12,500. Then I followed it with a short message. Stop pretending this is about family. It's about control. Handle the rest yourselves. The chat went dead after that. Around 9 p.m., Amanda called again. I didn't answer, but this time she left a voicemail. Her voice wasn't panicked anymore, just cold. She said she was paying the final amount herself since apparently no one else could be relied on. Said she was tired of being attacked every time she tried to do something good. Then she said she was done talking to me permanently. Should have hit me, but all I felt was calm. She thought cutting me off was a punishment. It wasn't. Felt like freedom. And for the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't part of a game I never signed up to play. Amanda paid the final $12,500 the next day. No message. Just the screenshot of the confirmation email sent at 6:04 a.m. followed by one last line fixed it. You're welcome. By 6:05 I was blocked. I figured that was it. The closing credits. She'd rage paid the remainder. Scrubbed me from her digital world. And now I could go back to pretending we were just some distant cousins who didn't talk much. Felt over. Clean. Then 3 days later, my parents showed up at my apartment. No warning, no call. I was on the couch eating leftover pasta when I heard the knock. I checked the peephole, half expecting it to be someone delivering a package. Instead, there stood my dad, arms crossed, and my mom behind him, holding her purse like she was walking into a courtroom. They didn't even wait for me to invite them in. My dad just stepped inside like he was checking the place for damages. And my mom followed with this tight, polite smile like she was doing something charitable. She sat down and pulled a document from her bag. A printed letter. I thought it was going to be an apology or maybe an invitation to talk. But no, it was a tight agreement. At the top, it said Family Settlement Understanding. And below that, a bunch of legal-sounding phrases about how Amanda had fulfilled all financial obligations toward the mortgage, and I was to formally acknowledge her full contribution and refrain from misrepresenting any personal role in the matter to other family members. I stared at it. They wanted me to sign something saying Amanda had done everything that I'd just been background noise. Worse, they wanted it in writing. I didn't even ask where it came from. I just looked at my dad and asked if they were serious. He said this was just to keep the peace. That Amanda was still hurt, that I had escalated things unnecessarily. Then he said something I won't forget. He said, maybe you're just not equipped to understand what real sacrifice looks like. I asked him if $125,000 looked like a lack of sacrifice. He looked away. My mom just said, it's not always about the money, Jack. Sometimes it's about grace. Grace. I told them to leave. As they got to the door, my dad said something low, like a warning. He said Amanda was considering legal options if I kept dragging her name through the mud. That what I was doing could be seen as slander. That I'd better think long and hard about how far I wanted to take this. I told him if Amanda wanted to involve lawyers, I'd be happy to send mine every receipt, every transfer, every time-stamped transaction that proved exactly who paid what, that I'd enjoy it. They left without saying goodbye. And I thought maybe that was it. Maybe they'd get the message. But that weekend, I started getting texts from old classmates, people I hadn't heard from in years. One said they heard I was going through something and hoped I was okay. Another asked if it was true I'd been institutionalized. Someone else asked if I'd really been cut off by the family. Amanda hadn't gone silent. She'd gone strategic. She was painting me as unstable, telling people I'd had a breakdown, that I'd acted out over something small, and that my behavior had scared the family. I found out from one person that she claimed I'd been drinking heavily and had threatened her during our last call. None of it was true, but it didn't matter. She wasn't trying to convince me. She was trying to bury my side of the story before it ever got heard. And that's when I stopped trying to reason with any of them. Amanda wanted a version of the truth where I didn't exist. So I made a decision. If she wanted drama, I'd give her a little, just enough to make her look over her shoulder. After everything, the party photo, the canceled payment, the threats, and the sudden smear campaign, I expected to feel wrecked. I thought I'd be bitter, paranoid, maybe even ashamed. But none of that came. What came instead was silence. And then, strangely, peace. Amanda didn't contact me. She stayed blocked, and she made sure I stayed buried in whatever version of the truth she was circulating. My parents went radio silent, too. No calls, no guilt texts, no veiled threats. Even Eric backed off. I think he figured out I wasn't going to be talked down anymore. I waited a week, then another, and by the third, I realized I felt better than I had in years. It was subtle at first. Things like getting out of bed without the weight of obligation pressing on me, or sitting in my living room without feeling like I was supposed to be somewhere fixing something for someone else. I went to work, came home, cooked, cleaned, read. For the first time, my life belonged to me again. The joint mortgage account was the last thing I cut off. I logged in one final time, saw Amanda's payment reflected, and closed it down, removed the app, deleted the bookmarks. That account had been tying me to them like a leash around my neck, and the second it was gone, I felt 20 pounds lighter. Nobody thanked me. Nobody reached out to reconcile. But honestly, that was part of the relief. I didn't want reconciliation. I didn't want a forced dinner or a thin apology. I wanted distance. I wanted my space. And now, finally, I had it. I stopped talking about Amanda, stopped replaying things, stopped trying to explain myself. I even pulled back from mutual friends. The ones who nodded along when Amanda made her little jabs. The ones who never spoke up even though they knew exactly how much I'd done. Then something unexpected happened. I got an email from a name I barely recognized. A woman named Heather who used to work with Amanda a few years back. She said she wasn't sure if she should be reaching out, but she'd heard some rumors and felt like I deserved a heads up. Apparently, Amanda had been telling people, not just family, but professional contacts, that I'd stolen money from our parents, that I tried to sabotage the mortgage, that she had to step in at the last minute and fix everything because I'd had some sort of mental breakdown and was making reckless financial decisions. Heather said she didn't believe it when she heard it, but others might. Amanda was careful about where and how she said it in private, in confidence, never in writing. That piece I'd found, it started to crack because it wasn't just about family anymore. Amanda was trying to destroy my name quietly, elegantly, like a social assassin. I didn't yell. I didn't call her. I didn't text anyone. I drove to the grocery store, picked up a bag of overripe tomatoes, the kind no one buys, and that night, I parked 2 streets over from her place. Hood up, lights off. Amanda thought she was untouchable. She had no idea what she'd started. Amanda's building sat on a clean, well-lit corner like a stage set. Glass railings, symmetrical hedges, spotless sidewalks. Every detail screamed curated perfection. I knew it well. I'd helped her move in when she first bought the place. Carried boxes up those stairs. Helped her hang her framed diplomas. Stood in her gleaming kitchen while she poured champagne, and told me I should aim higher. Now I was parked 2 blocks down, windows cracked, engine off. It was close to midnight. The bag of tomatoes sat next to me on the passenger seat. Overnight, bruised, warm from sitting in the trunk. They smelled like rot. I didn't rush. I walked the side street slow, hoodie up, head down. Crossed behind the building through a gap in the shrubs. Her unit was 2nd floor, corner window, no curtains. Amanda never saw the point in hiding. She liked to be seen. That was always the whole point. I stood across from her window under the shadow of a tree and reached into the bag. The first tomato hit hard, thewing against the glass and bursting instantly. Perfect red splatter. I waited. Nothing. No lights flicked on. No blinds twitched. Second throw harder. It smeared across the center of the window and left a thick trail as it slid down. Still no sign of life inside. I kept going, tomato after tomato, each one splashing against the pane or the beige siding. The smell was rancid. The sound was sickly. A few seeds tripped onto the small balcony below, just outside her sliding door. By the time I tossed the last one, I wasn't even angry. I was calm, focused. I didn't want to shatter glass or cause damage. I wanted the mess, the stain, the things she couldn't control. On my way back to the car, I didn't look around. No rush. No one was watching. That part of town was dead quiet at night. Just sprinklers and the occasional passing car. I sat in the driver's seat for a minute, looking at my hands. Red spots on my knuckles, pulp on my sleeve. It made me laugh. I wiped them off with a fast food napkin and drove home in silence. Amanda never said anything. She didn't call, didn't text, didn't post one of her vague. Some people are so immature stories, but I know she knew it was me. I'm sure she stood there the next morning staring at her window, trying to scrub tomato guts off her spotless glass, wondering if I'd lost my mind. She probably told everyone I had. I started hearing little things, third-hand gossip through old classmates or coworkers who didn't know they were talking to the villain in Amanda's version of events. One guy messaged me on LinkedIn out of nowhere to check in. Someone else emailed me asking if I was getting help. Apparently, I was unwell. I'd been acting out, caused the scene, and vanished from the family. The mortgage situation completely rewritten. According to Amanda, I refused to contribute. The entire burden fell on her. She saved the house. I cracked under pressure. She didn't just erase me. She replaced me with a cautionary tale. But I didn't correct it. I let them believe whatever version made sense to them. Amanda could keep her audience. I didn't need to win the story. I just needed out of it. And now with the silence back and the last tomato long gone, I finally was. 6 months passed. Not a word from Amanda. Nothing from my parents either. A few messages trickled in from Eric. All surface-level stuff like a forwarded meme or some YouTube link with no caption. I didn't answer any of them. By now, I was out of the city. I'd taken a new job in Denver, packed up my life quietly, and left without ceremony. No goodbye drinks. No big social media posts. I just left. And honestly, it felt good. Like deleting a file without saving. Life started feeling real again. I was waking up early, not because of anxiety, but because I wanted to. I got into a rhythm. Work, hiking, reading, making actual meals. Nobody called me selfish. Nobody asked for anything. Nobody rewrote the past while I stood there watching. Then one Tuesday night, I got an email. Not from Amanda. Not from my parents, from a real estate agent in our hometown. It was short. The subject line read, "Property inquiry question about recent listing." He said he'd been hired to help sell our parents' house and wanted to know if I was aware my name was still tied to the home's equity agreement. He didn't want to assume anything, but he needed my signature to finalize the pre-sale disclosures. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe he mixed me up with Amanda, but I opened the attachment. And there it was, my name on a quiet little clause in the original agreement. A fallback stipulation I'd completely forgotten about. Something Amanda and I had signed back when we helped with the mortgage, that if the house was ever sold, the profits would be split based on contribution. Amanda had never mentioned it. My parents never brought it up either, but now years later, it was right there in black and white. I stared at that line for a long time. I knew what it meant. They were selling the house. Amanda had probably pushed for it. Maybe to cut ties completely, or maybe she needed the money for something. And now, thanks to that one small clause, they couldn't cash out without going through me. I didn't respond right away. I sat on it for 3 days. And on the 4th, I replied. I told the agent I'd be happy to sign, but only once I received a full documented breakdown of the equity payout with bank verification that my share was transferred in full before the closing date. No games, no delays, everything in writing. I hit send and then I smiled because somewhere in her glass and marble condo, Amanda was about to find out the past wasn't as easy to bury as she thought.